This video is brought to you by Squarespace. If you're in need of expanding your online presence, this is the right product for you. I had to re-upload this video because for some reason it wasn't being shown to subscribers and it was acting really weird. I'll leave a more detailed explanation in the comment section, but I'd like to take this opportunity to clarify one thing. Some people were commenting that because I was Portuguese I had some kind of agenda towards Messi. I think that came from the fact that some thought this was my Messi documentary, but it isn't. This is just one video showcasing how Barcelona messed up so much over the last few years that Messi was left feeling he had no option but to leave. There is no intention to downplay any of Messi's achievements in this video. The more depressing tone of it only stems from Barcelona's mistakes, and trust me, the Messi documentary will come, and I'll do my best to make justice to Messi's incredible legacy. No matter where you're from, we all know Messi is an otherworldly footballer, so let's get into the video. Back in the days of Ronaldinho, Henry and Eto'o, I absolutely adored that team, and I could not wait to see what Messi would bring to the football world. The possibilities seemed limitless. But I could not have gotten even close to guessing what would really happen. 6 Ballon d'Ors. Wow, we really got used to these numbers, haven't we? Back in the 80s, when Platini got 3 of them, that was considered the peak of football ability. To make it to 4 would have been wild. To double that amount? We might really be taking him for granted sometimes. I think it's clear to all that something changed at around 2019, and for a while there was no explanation. I felt I was completely in the dark and something felt off, but then started one of the most epic transfer sagas I've seen in a while. It was the 25th of August of 2020 and Barcelona received the most heart-wrenching facts in their history. Lionel Messi was expressing his desire to leave, to be put on the transfer list. What happened? Why was the king of Barcelona so adamant to step down from his throne? Well, Barcelona was a sinking ship, and sure, they do say that a good sailor goes down with it, but when that puts at stake the last few years of who might be the greatest player of all time, it's easy to see why many feel so inclined to give him a pass. Looking at their business over the last few years, it looks very solid at the surface level, as legends of other times like Xavi and Iniesta, and even current stars like Neymar left the club. Barcelona made sure to spend big on the transfer market to make sure Messi's supporting cast was up to his standards. After all, the 220 million they made of Neymar provided them with funds that had maybe never been available to any other club. They brought in Coutinho from Liverpool, another Brazilian with tricky dribbles and incredible playmaking and goal-scoring potential. The price tag was 135 million euros, and if that wasn't enough, they brought in Dembele, a French wonder kid turned global sensation at Dortmund. Another 135 million were enough to bring him aboard. These kinds of transfers kept coming. There was Antoine Griezmann, coming straight from their direct rivals Atletico de Madrid, another fee of 120 million. Alongside him, Frenkie de Jong, the centerpiece of an Ajax team that many compared to Guardiola's Barcelona. And so, another 86 million were spent. That's nearly 500 million euros for just 4 players. I know this might sound wild, but maybe, just maybe, there should have been a more restrained approach to the transfer market. And yes, that was sarcasm, of course they should. And that's not to say they didn't make some good purchases over that time. Even this year they managed to get Depay and Agüero both on free transfers, which sounds incredible. And before that there was Trincão, Serginho Dest, Pedri for just 20 million, which I'm still mind blown about. Arthur, and even, and I'm aware many of you will disagree on this, but Nelson Semedo. Before the harassment he suffered over his performance against Bayern, it was actually very impressive, and I'm still betting that he will make a comeback. The thing about all of this is that they weren't selling enough. Over these years their biggest sales were Paulinho and Malcolm, both players who had arrived the year before their departure, and that provided Barcelona with an outstanding profit of 1 million euros. No, I swear I'm not joking, that's literally it, 1 million euros. You could even argue that Arthur was sold for far more, 72 million in fact, but that deal was part of a direct swap with Pjanic and was done in this format only to help balance the books of both teams and keep them away from the boogeyman that is financial fair play. And that's why it always seems to only apply to smaller teams. It's easy to see why the Barcelona board was at the club during the reign of infamous president Josep Maria Bartomeu wasn't the most competent, but still, That is some next level debauchery. What had led them to make such impulsive purchases, more suited to a 10-year-old who just got a new FIFA game for Christmas than a full-on titan of the football industrial complex? I would say the story starts in 2016. It had been a year since Messi, Neymar and Suarez had conquered Europe, and they had won 2-1 in the first leg semi-final against Atletico de Madrid. Soon after, they met them at the good old Vicente Calderón and lost 2-0. With Messi failing to score or assist in both legs. This set off a legacy of conceding to comebacks at the European level like nothing I've ever seen. To be fair, in 2017 there wasn't exactly a comeback, but there was an embarrassing 3-0 defeat to Juventus that completely nullified their heroics against PSG in the previous round, coming off of a first leg 4-0 defeat. Once again, Messi came off of it with only one goal against PSG through a penalty and no assists. I'm not saying any of this to slander Messi, it's just to show that clearly something was off, and it started to be noticed that Messi couldn't be 100% relied on at the knockout stages. 2018 kept the trend going. A 4-1 win over Roma in the first leg meant nothing as they went on to a 3-0 defeat in the second leg. Messi once again has no goals or assists over the two legs. 2019 was by far the most painful for Messi in my opinion. He would completely provide for the team in the first leg, scoring twice in 7 minutes to make the match 3-0. But then came the second leg, and I think it's one of those games that everyone remembers. In my case, I had jumped out of the train as I was on my way to a yearly university celebration I had to attend, and the score was 1-0. I made my way through the parade, and as I walked by a restaurant, a bunch of English tourists screamed goal, and they seemed in complete euphoria, so I connected the dots immediately and picked up my phone and... what the hell, Liverpool had tied the match. They're up 3-0 in the second leg, and trust me when I say this, I made my way to the subway station, which is about a 20-minute walk, completely immersed into my phone as I watched in disbelief, and then suddenly, the 3 turned into a 4. Origi had scored. I must have looked like a madman talking to my phone as I walked through the empty streets in the middle of the night, but that's what makes football so special, because at that moment in time I didn't care. As sad as it might have been for Lionel Messi, I was witnessing history, and that's all that mattered to me. Hey, hold on there for a second. As a software engineer, I can tell you that building a website is always either boring or expensive, but then comes Squarespace, where you can seemingly create any kind of website using just this one simple tool. May it be e-commerce, a blog, even a portfolio, they got you covered. And if you're still unsure, hear me out. I went on the platform just today to mess around, and it's so much fun. I caught myself having created an entire homepage for the channel and sharing a bit of its story before I even felt the smallest bit of boredom. So what more do you need? Head to squarespace.com/dailydoseoffootball to save 10% of your first purchase of a website or domain using code dailydoseoffootball. So yeah, back to the video. And as it seemed like it couldn't get any worse, 2020 brought us Bayern 8, Barcelona 2 over a single leg, with Messi once again failing to score or assist. These 5 matches put a stain in Messi's masterpiece of a career like no other we had seen. Once believed to be a complete alien, far too good to ever consistently fail, Messi now showed us that he was a mere mortal like the rest of us, but was he really, or was it just way too hard of a task to carry a squad like that? I don't know if you noticed something, but I haven't mentioned many defenders in this video, have I? That's because Barcelona, despite all their moves in the market, has only brought a few defenders over the last years, despite clear evidence that their defense was a weak spot, to say the very least. There was Dest, but he's an attack-minded fullback. There was Firpo, but he's at Leeds United now, which might be enough to demonstrate that he wasn't the best. There was Lenglet, who might just be the most hated player in the squad right now. To say the fans have been questioning his competence as one of the first-choice centre-backs is an incredible understatement, and when it comes to Semedo, I think I've said enough. Of course, you could say that there is Piqué and Jordi Alba, but they're respectively 34 and 32 years old. It's time to make sure the future is secure. Even their defensive midfield has been something to behold. They seem determined to suck out every little bit of juice left in Busquets before they sign a new one. And as a final note, I think we can all agree that Ter Stegen hasn't been doing too good either. After looking at it like this, it's easy to see how Messi felt hopeless to the point of abandoning his club after 21 years, but why didn't he leave in 2020? Well, his fax was sort of an ultimatum: either the board resigns or he will leave. It was clearly time for Bartomeu to pack his bags and admit he or any of his board members weren't suited for the job, but no. There was time for one more incredible stupid decision. They announced they had every intent to still build their team around Messi, and that he would only leave if someone was willing to sign off his release clause. Sounds reasonable at first sight, yeah, but Messi's release clause was 700 million euros. It just wasn't gonna happen. Messi set up an interview where he intended to make his feelings public, perhaps get the fans on his side and possibly get more pressure on the board so they'd resign. He didn't shy away from calling Bartomeu a disaster at management and a bunch of other unsavory remarks, but in the end, Messi was locked in place for another season. Almost like a hostage situation, no one expected much from Messi that season, and there were some signs of underperforming at first, but eventually he bounced back and delivered, putting out 50 goals and assists in 48 matches, even scoring twice as they got knocked out by PSG in the Champions League. Though, to be fair, this change in form might have been motivated by the resignation of the board he had been fighting against, as Bartomeu was en route to becoming the first Barcelona president to be kicked out by what they call a vote of no confidence. 5 months would go by before the new president was appointed. Joan Laporta had promised during his campaign that he would get Messi to renew his contract once he took over, but here comes what, in my opinion, is one of the biggest plot twists in this whole story. A few weeks before he took over, there was a huge leak, and lots of information behind Barcelona's business came to light. Where the leak came from can be argued, but it sure seemed like some impressively good timing for some people, let's just say that. One major piece of this intel would make worldwide news, and it was a shock to everyone. Right after the departure of Neymar, which Messi had always shown to disapprove of, he signed a new contract with Barcelona, but the terms of it had been hidden from the public. It was valued at 555 million euros over 4 seasons. Of course, Messi, besides being their best player, is also the biggest ambassador for Barcelona's brand, bringing them millions every year. But given how that value more than doubles what some of the world's top players were making, it's hard not to feel like it was disproportionate. It feels a bit like, even if not intentionally, Messi took advantage of the board's lack of management skills to get as much money as possible. Even though any Barcelona supporter would say that they would be willing to pay Messi whatever it took just to keep him around, that's just not how the financial side of football works. As Laporta took over the club, he was in complete shock to find that they were in 1.6 billion euros worth of debt. And that's hard to process. It will be a long time before Barcelona dig themselves out of that hole. It's clear that Laporta tried to honor his word and get Messi to stay. Even the signing of Agüero, one of Messi's best friends, is a clear sign that the club was trying to endear itself to La Pulga, but we all know what happened. After 1 year of being constantly flirted with by Manchester City, who could provide him with Premier League football, reconnect him with Guardiola and put him in a system he would be very familiar with, Messi would end up at PSG, once again playing besides Neymar. After all, if we really take a look at it, Neymar's departure from Barcelona had been the main catalyst for this situation. Looking back now, I don't think you can say that Barcelona failed Messi or Messi failed Barcelona. Even fully blaming the board would be dishonest. Bartomeu took over in 2014 and at first it was great, Barcelona was thriving, though you could also say he had inherited perhaps the greatest attacking trio of the last decade, but still there were no major signs of what was to come. I think that overall they were a club put into disarray by the clashing wills of many individuals who at times seemed to all fail to put their egos and their whims aside in favor of the big picture, but now that's past us. Well, unless you're a Barcelona supporter, of course. The rest of us have one last question in mind. How will Messi fit in at PSG? The first ever move of his career, no matter how much experience he has garnered over the last few years, it sure is a daunting task to bring some of the glory he had at Barcelona to a whole new country. You might say that PSG owns the league, but that hasn't been so true lately, and deep down we all know that that isn't the goal of this transfer. PSG had one main goal in mind for a while now, and that's to win the Champions League. which is made evident by their refusal to let go of Kylian Mbappe, who has only 1 year in his contract and has reportedly had offers of up to 200 million euros by Real Madrid and has made his desire to leave the club very public. I think that should be scary for PSG. Mbappe is their most outstanding player in the Champions League, and to have him in what is a similar situation to what Messi had been under Bartomeu can prove to be catastrophic. Regardless, assuming Mbappe will perform up to his standard, it's very easy to see PSG playing in a 4-3-3 with Neymar, Mbappe and Messi up front, with either Messi playing as a false 9 or with Neymar on the left and Mbappe as a striker. In my opinion, Mbappe as the striker is a waste. With the speed he has, he needs to be on the wing, but there is one other formation that I can't seem to stop wondering about, a 4-3-2-1, with Messi as the number 10, switching between the two possibilities of Di Maria on the right, Neymar on the left, and Mbappe as the more mobile striker. Considering he would be joined by so many attacking players, I feel there is a possibility for him to drop down more and perhaps rotate with Messi, who would be filling in as a false 9, so Mbappe could partner up with Neymar on the left, or even with Neymar taking over Messi's spot as the number 10. These four could combine in so many ways that the rotations available to them could become impossible for the opponents to keep track of. But of course, it could also lead to a messy and poorly organized transition into attack, which I doubt Pochettino will be a fan of. That could of course be helped by Icardi, a far more traditional striker who has in the past proved to be quite efficient, and though his inclusion would lead one of the other four to be dropped to the bench, most likely Di Maria, it would also distribute the workload less evenly, which might make having Di Maria as a second half sub really useful, especially if Neymar has another injury-struck season. I expect them to completely dominate the league. I don't think most defenders in Ligue 1 can contain this sort of attacking power, especially Messi. This is not a roast at all, but Messi against weak opposition usually completely shreds. In the Champions League, I worry a bit that they might not be so successful. Their defense isn't that exceptional in my opinion, but you know what my main worry was? Bernat at left back, but now they also signed Nuno Mendes, who I'm very hopeful for, so that might not be a problem after all. So, what do you think? Will they win the Champions League? How will they line up? Will this transfer be a success for Messi? I wanna hear all of it. Also, for the Messi fans who might be a little bummed out after this video, don't worry, once I make a full documentary on him, it will be far more joyful. So yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed. Once again, kind of a different video, but yeah, see you next week. Bye.